there, it is Monday, May 7th, and we are going to do a little video update for you and show you the puppies. As you can observe, they are growing and becoming much more active. They're up and exploring their world and developing all of their big dog talents and skills. So we want to just kind of show you each puppy. And I will start with the blue boy here. He is the largest puppy of the litter. He has quite a big and square, blocky shaped head, and he is big structurally. His bone structure is large, and he has large paws. So I think that this little guy won't be such a little guy. I think he's going to grow and be a pretty big dog. You can see they're very active. They're also teething, so at this phase, chew toys are very important for puppies. They need to have something to chew on to help with the teething process, and if toys aren't provided, they'll find other things to chew on. So, good chew toys are important. Ropes are really good. Secure balls are good. You want to be careful what chew toys you get for your puppy. Even things that are labeled as a puppy toy may not necessarily be safe for a puppy. And I sadly know of two different families that came home to find that their puppy had choked on a toy that they had left in their crate with them. So it is important that you're careful and cautious as to which types of toys you leave with a puppy while they are, not being closely supervised. Let me show you the markings on the puppies. I will try and show you what is showing up at this point, but if you want to know for sure the markings on each puppy, go back and view that early video where we show the individual markings on the dogs. That's where they're going to show up the most. Right now the puppies, their coat is in a transitional phase from their newborn coat to kind of an in-between coat. It will transition again as they get older. It's not their adult coat yet. Their adult coat will be a little coarser, not quite as soft as this puppy coat. It'll also be more red. But right now they're transitioning, and so actually the fur on their tummies is pretty thin, and so unless a marking is really bold, it doesn't necessarily show up really well at this point. So we will attempt to show you Blue's markings. So if we tip his chin up, we're not seeing anything in the throat area at the moment. There might be a slight, I can't even tell if that's going to be a slight hint of a marking or not right there, because it's so thin. And you can't really see anything in the chest right now either. There's kind of a thin spot right here, but as of right now, nothing is showing up currently on him as far as neck, chest, chin, all that kind of stuff. Front paws very big and solid on the front paws and solid on the back paws. So that is our blue boy. I would say he's kind of middle line for the litter as well as for the males. We try and kind of watch their energy level as well as their dominance level, and those are two different things. Energy is just how active they are. Dominance is whether they want to be the leader or whether they'll submit to other dogs. All of these puppies will submit to us as people, but some of them are more dominant with each other, which you may see continue throughout their life with other dogs. But this is an age where we try to put the selection process off as long as possible, because 7 weeks is actually when you really start to see their personalities the most. But we'll try and tell you what we've observed so far with each of these puppies. So Blue is kind of middle of the range for dominance and for energy level as far as the males as well as the litter as a whole. And like I say, he's going to be a big boy. So that is our blue puppy. Next, let me consult my list. I've got it hiding under my leg so the puppies don't eat it. Yes, Orange is next for size. He is next largest. He's actually, I don't know if you can see it on the video, he's back here on his back with little tiny Green on top of him. That is, for her to be on top of him like that and him just laying there. I mean, they're just playing, but that is somewhat of a level of submission there. Green is one of the leaders, one of the more dominant puppies, even though she's little. And Orange was just submitting to her right there. So let's grab him and show him to you. Orange will also be fairly large. He is second in size. And he still has a blocky head, but not quite as massive as Blue's. So his head's kind of got the same shape, but just not quite as large. And we will show you, he's got the solid front paws. And again, his paws are just a tad smaller than Blue's. He has marked back toes. And he is the most marked of the boys. And so his markings do show up. Even at this age, they are showing up. His markings, will be bold, definite markings if that's something you like. Old wives' tale or legend or myth or whatever you want to call it with Vizslas. Some people say that the dogs with the white marking are better hunters. I don't know if it's true or not, but some people do say that. And let me show you his chest and stuff like that, because he is definitely marked. You can see almost kind of an Eiffel Tower shape right there on his chest. And there is still some showing up right there in the throat for him. So definitely a marked puppy as far as Orange goes. And you saw him submitting to green there. I would say as far as the males, he's a little more energetic, possibly a little more dominant. I wouldn't call him heavily dominant, just compared to the males. Maybe he's slightly more dominant, but the females are definitely the leaders in this litter. We have a couple of the females who are definitely the ones who want to lead. So that is our Orange puppy. Doing great, growing, active, healthy as can be. Very happy about that. Okay, let me look at my list. Next in size for the boys is Black. He's having a tug of war over here with Red. Come here, Black. Come here. Come smile for the camera. So here is our Black boy. And his head is a little more slender than Orange and Blue's, but still the blocky shape. But again, less massive, less bulk there. But still, some Vizslas have a very, I call it a sleek head. And his is still going to be the blocky head, but not so large as the others. His paws are about the same size as Orange's. And he's got solid front paws. Let's get your back paws. And solid for the back paws there. And let's show you his tummy. Can we show him your tummy? You don't want to hold still right now, huh? So there is just a tad, teeny tiny bit of white right there. Right, maybe, there in the throat area for him. And maybe a little tiny hint of white right there on the chest. I'm not even sure if that will be white marking at this point or not. Possibly right there. His is that thin that, like I said, unless it's a real bold marking, it doesn't show up super well at this age. So if you want to refresh on those markings, go back and check that early film. He's got some fuzzies on him from his ribbon. There we go. You can see they are very mouthy right now, wanting to chew on everything, like we said, and that's a good reason for the chew toys. So there is our Black puppy. Right now, they're probably not holding still enough for you to see it in the film, but right now their eyes are kind of a bluish green color. When they're born, their eyes are blue. Then they transition to kind of a greenish color, and by a few months, 3-4 months old, they will transition to match their coat. So that they, the nails, the eyes, the coat, everything's kind of that same color for these puppies. So I don't know if you can see those eyes there or not, but they are kind of in that hazel transition stage right now. All right, so next up will be Gray. Gray, where did you go? Gray is, oh, there he is. He's just a little bit smaller, but not by much. And he, I would say, is probably the calmer and more submissive for the males, probably, would be my guess at this point. Again, it can change over the next couple of weeks, so we'll give you our best bet. It can change over the next couple of weeks. And also, it can change once they get to your home. It's, for those of you who have more than one child, a child's personality can be influenced by who they're around, not just their personality itself, but how it interacts with the other people around them. Same story with dogs. So if you've got other dogs in your home or other dogs in your neighborhood, it can be a different dynamic, and they can interact with them differently than they did their litter mates. But we will try and give you, the glimpse into their personality of what we are seeing here in our home. Here is our gray puppy. And we will show him to you. Let me just show you real quick and demonstrate. Puppy mouthing, this puppy biting, is going to be one of your big challenges right to start off with. That and potty training are kind of the two things you really have to get started with a puppy right away. They want to chew on everything. Everything, everything, everything. They are teething, and it's also how they play with each other. That's how dogs play together is, with their mouths and wrestling and all that. It's one of the reasons they have to stay with their litter until at least 7 weeks and with mom. And so they learn bite inhibition by interacting with each other and learning what is too much and what is okay. One thing we have to teach them is even though they play with each other with their teeth, it's not really okay to play with people with their teeth. Some people think as long as it's not biting, as long as it's just mouthing, that's okay. My personal opinion, I don't think a dog should put its teeth on people, whether there's pressure or not. These dogs are going to be big enough that if they run up to a child and put their mouth over their arm just playing, even if they don't bite, they're going to scare someone, and you may end up in trouble. So in my personal opinion, dogs shouldn't put their teeth on people, period. And so one thing we do to try and teach our dogs that, and that I would suggest you do, appropriate toys, very important. So if they're chewing on you, is there one within my reach? Maybe. If they're chewing on you, get their teeth off of you and replace it with something else. That is one tactic for dealing with the puppy biting. Another way is to try and communicate with them in dog language. If they bite each other too hard, they yelp at each other. That's what the puppy's going to do if they get bit too hard. They know exactly what that means. So if they're biting on you, yelp at them. Give them that puppy language that they understand. The other thing you can do, and I'll demonstrate it when one does decide to put their teeth on me, is to push your hand back in their mouth. The idea is not to hurt them. You're not pushing it so far back that you're hurting them, but you're getting it to the point they're no longer in control. And so you just, if they're chewing on your hand, push it farther back in their mouth and just hold it there until they start to try to spit your hand out. They'll start to, and try and spit your hand out. They've lost control, and if they're not in control, it's not fun. So again, doesn't have to hurt them. Just every time do that, and pretty soon they learn, well, that's not a rewarding thing to chew on. And of course, keep things you don't want chewed up away from the puppy. Puppy-proof, puppy-proof, puppy-proof the house for now. Okay, next is Red. Come here, Red. He is the littlest one of the males. And we will show him to you. Again, all of these puppies are going to have the blocky shaped heads. Both mom and dad have the blocky shaped head. It's just a matter of how massive is it. And Red's is definitely smaller. He's not going to be quite as bulky. And he has a little bit smaller paws as well, which can also be an indication of their maturity. So let's show you him. He's solid on the front paws. Can you show him your back feet? Right here on the back feet, we have just a few hairs. Not even really a marking, kind of a highlight. A couple hairs right around that toe, right at the toenail. And maybe one or two right there on that toenail right now, right around the toenail. And if we roll him back, and we'll take a look at him. Nothing is currently showing up in the neck and throat. There is a little tiny bit of white marking right on the cowlick of the chest that's showing up right now. Again, go back and consult that early video on any markings if the markings are a big deal for you in the decision process. So that is our Red boy. And he thinks he needs to chew on me, huh? Okay, so see, so if you go like this, I'm not hurting him. I'm just holding my hand back. See, now he's starting to squirm and wanting to get out. It's just they lose control. You're in control of, where the hand is and when. Takes the pleasure out of it for him. Good boy. Good boy. Okay, we are going to show you the girls. White is the biggest girl, but she's asleep. So how about for the girls, let's work from little to big. Here is our sweet little Till. She is adorable. She's just a sweet little peanut. Yes, she's so little. But we are seeing good growth starting with her. We're thrilled about that. We've had a couple of friends that we know that have had premature babies, and it seems like their system just has to get ready to assimilate food. Even if they're eating, it takes them a little while before you start to see the eating equate to growth. And that's what we were seeing with her for a while. We were absolutely sure she was eating, but we just weren't seeing much growth. She's starting to take off now. We're starting to see her skeletal structure is getting larger, her weight is going up, and her proportions are becoming more like you would expect of a puppy of this age. They're less the brand new newborn look, you know, and more of a puppy look to her now. So we are just thrilled with the growth that we're seeing with her. She is so sweet. She is so sweet. I mean, she really is just adorable. She will be small at maturity. At this point, hey, don't steal my notes. At this point, thank you. At this point, I feel really comfortable saying she is not going to be as large as the other puppies of the litter. I would take a guess and say at maturity she's probably going to be 25-30% smaller than any of the other puppies in this litter. So for those of you who are interested in a small female, she may be a really good option for you. We quite often actually get requests for small females, and we're hardly ever able to fulfill that. Our dogs are actually on the large side, and so it's really hard for us to provide a small dog. And so anyway, if that's what you're after, this may be an opportunity to get the small female that we don't have very often. And like I say, she is just cute as can be, very petite, very little and tiny. She shows a lot of retriever instinct in her. So Vizslas are technically a pointer as well as a retriever. Pointer means, for those of you who aren't familiar with hunting terms, that when their job is to find the bird and alert the hunter where it is. So a pointer, and they're going to find the bird and they'll throw a point. Usually it means sticking out their nose, sticking out their tail, and quite often lifting up a front paw. They throw a point and they hold that point with their nose pointing to the bird until the hunter can get there to get the bird. So obviously is a pointer as well as a retriever. A retriever goes and gets the bird once it's down and brings it back to the hunter. So she is already showing a lot of that retriever instinct. A retriever dog you're going to see loving to play with toys, loving to play fetch and bring things back to you, that kind of a thing. So we are certainly seeing that side come out in her. She is a little bit calmer than the others at this point, but I don't know if it's just because she's smaller, you know, and so she just, you know, kind of can't compete quite as much with as the others. And if she'll stay calmer, or if once she's in a home on her own and doesn't have the bigger dogs around, if you'll really start to see some energy and some personality come out. But she right now is quite sweet and calm. Let's show you her markings. Head up. So she's got a little bit right there in the throat. So at this point, if it's showing up, I feel pretty confident it will stay. And then she's got this line right there across the top of the chest. And let's take a look at her paws. You can see they're so much smaller, so tiny and sweet. No markings there on front, and no markings there on back. So that is our Till girl. She really is a doll. We just love her. We all love her. We love them all, of course, but she is, with her little size, she is just so cute. Okay, let me see. So next, we're moving up in size. They're all crashing. So the next smallest female is Green. So here's Green. I think Green will be a little bit on the smaller side of normal, but not as small as Till. You know, we saw growth start a lot earlier in Green. She was also small, like Till, when she was born, but we saw the growth start a lot earlier with her, so I think she will end up, you know, larger than Till, but still on the small end for the Vizsla. Small end of normal. She's just going to sleep and show you how sweet she is when she's sleeping. Green is one of the spunkier puppies. She wants to be the leader. She wants to be in charge. So in dog terminology, that would be termed dominant. So she submits to people, She's not aggressive with us or anything like that. She submits to people, but she does want to be able, like in a wrestling match with her siblings, her litter mates, she wants to be on top, for instance. Just kind of that leader personality, which is not necessarily a bad thing. You do need to socialize a dominant dog so that they don't become aggressive. You don't want dominant to equate to aggressive. That's something you want to avoid. So socializing them with other dogs and with people and those kinds of things, and helping them to learn the proper interaction skills. You know, that's certainly important. It's important with every puppy. But dominant's not necessarily a bad thing if they are properly socialized and trained. For those who want a hunting dog, that leader mentality and the high energy is really, really good. And, you know, Daisy, their mama, was a dominant dog as a puppy, and she is just the sweetest and best dog ever. So it's just a matter of, really, just like with any puppy, proper socialization and proper training. But high energy and leader mentality for Green right here. She's not really showing you her energy at the moment. Let's take a look at her. So if we tip her head up, nothing's really showing up too much right here, but hers might come back just a little bit in the throat. And there's the tiniest little highlight. It's looking like right there off to the side of her chest is what's showing up right now for her. Again, consult that early film if markings are important to you. And let's show you solid front paws and solid back paws. And since she's holding still, we'll also show you tails are healing up really well. Our vet does a super job. Sometimes when tails are docked, you'll have this kind of bald stub that pokes out the end. Their hair is still growing around, so you can see a little bit of a line there in the end of the tail, but you can see how the hair is already starting to grow around like a paintbrush. We love how our vet does tails. They end up just really, really beautiful without that bald stub poking out. Vizsla, most pointers take a tail dock with 2/3 off and only 1/3 remaining. Vizslas are opposite of that. You take off only 1/3 and leave 2/3. So this is an appropriate tail length for breed standard right there. Our vet does a great job with those. And I'll show you, umbilical cords are completely healed up. So they have what looks kind of like a little scar. That's just their belly button. Their belly button doesn't necessarily go in or out like ours. It usually ends up pretty smooth, but it just kind of looks like a scar. Right there, that's the belly button. And right there's a little scar where the dew claw, basically that's the thumb, has been taken off so that it won't get torn off with how active they are running around being crazy. So that is our Green girl. She is the second smallest of the females. All right. Next up, I believe is Pink. Let me just make sure so I tell you correctly. Yes. Pink is just a little bit larger than Green. And I will show you her. Oh, I forgot to show you on Green. Let me pick her back up real fast. Sorry, Pink. Just a minute and we'll start with you. Green's coat has a little bit of what I would call freckling in it. Daisy's has that too. That's not really an issue. It's allowed in Vizsla's. But there are a few little hairs that are lighter that are mixed in with her coat. Just a little bit of freckling there. And Teal is, I believe, going to be the darkest coat of the puppies. So that's some information on coat. All of these are on the darker side, but middle range. I've seen Vizsla's darker, but I've seen Vizsla's a lot lighter as well. So I would call all of these middle range, with Teal being the darkest in this litter. Okay, back to our Pink girl. So here is Pink. Her head is bulkier than the other females that we've looked at so far. It's still got that same square shape, but she's just wider between the ears, wider snout, just a little bit bulkier head than the other girls that we've shown you so far. And here are her front paws. Again, they are a little bit bigger than the others, solid. and back paws. She's like a limp noodle. She's so asleep. Try not to flop her around. Here are her back paws, solid. Take a look at her tummy for you. Can you tip your head up? Oh, good girl. So nothing is showing up right now in the throat. And there's a tiny little highlight just right of the cowlick that is showing up on her right now as far as the chest. So that is our pink girl. I think that she will be, you know, another step up at maturity, just like they're seeing right now. I think teal's going to be really tiny, green's going to be small, and pink, I would say, you know, is another step up. She's probably going to be right in that middle range with the bulkier head. All right. Lay you down right there, and next I believe is yellow. Yes, yellow is our next largest of the girls. So let's grab her. I'm sorry. Did I have to wake you up? Did I have to do that? No, you were sleeping. So even though she is a little bit larger than pink, her head's not as massive. Maybe let me pick pink back up and give you some perspective. Compare their heads side to side. Even though her weight is a little bit higher, sorry girls, can we get your heads right next to each other? I don't know if I can get them to hold their heads still. I don't know if that shows up in the camera or not, but pink just, you know, more mass, more bulk there to the head. Overall shape's the same, just larger. Okay, so back to yellow. A little bit daintier head structure. Paws are a little smaller too, I think, even though her weight is a little bit, tiny bit higher. So here is our yellow girl. And she is sweet and cute and opening her eyes. Let's show you solid front paws. She has some definite white on this back right paw, those center two toes. Not seeing anything on the left foot. So foot markings are those two back toes. And if we tip her back, can we tip you back? You put your head up. I think there's one white hair right there. Maybe, I'm not even sure. Maybe one hair is showing up right now. And I'm not seeing anything on her chest right now. So she is pretty solid at this point. And that is our yellow girl. I wouldn't be surprised if pink surpasses her in size at maturity. If not, they'll be pretty close, but a less bulky structure on her. Good girl. Good girl. All right. After yellow, we're working our way up to purple is the next bigger one. Somewhere in this doggy pile. There we go. She's even a little bit awake. Come here, sweet girl. Come here. Can you smile for them? Her head is, you know, about like yellow's, not as bulky as pink's. And solid front paws. Yellow's chewing on the string of my pants. And solid back paws. And if we tip her head up and show you her. Come on, tip your head up. She has a definite white in the throat, so that at this point I would feel pretty confident saying is going to stay. And then a little tiny white just to the right of that cowlick again. So not a heavily marked pup, just, you know, those slight markings. Markings are a personal preference as far as, I mean, it can be a bigger deal for breeding or showing, but otherwise it's really a personal preference what you like. Oftentimes, our marked puppies are the first ones selected because some people really like the individuality it brings to a breed that tends to look all the same. Other people prefer that monochromatic, solid look. These little tiny faint markings are kind of an average of the two. That's actually what Daisy Mama has, Dad on this litter, Cliff, he is solid. Daisy has 3 itty bitty teeny tiny markings on her chest. They look like petals of a daisy falling, like someone was playing She Loves Me Not, you know. And it looks like 3 little daisy petals fluttering down, and that's where her name came from. And so she's kind of the lightly marked like most of these puppies are. And it can be a fun compromise to where they still, for the most part, have that monochromatic look unless you really look close. And yet they do have that individual characteristic, you know, that makes them unique. So anyway, that's our sleepy-headed little purple. And White. Where is White? Oh, right there. Let me check and make sure. I think she's our last one. Yes. White, come here. Come here. She is the biggest of the girls. She is also the most marked of the girls, and I would say the most dominant of the litter. So she is one that has a lot of personality, a lot of energy. That can be a lot of fun. Like I said, again, Daisy had a personality like that. Daisy's personality was a lot like White as a puppy, and she's, you know, just a really fun dog. She's got a lot of personality. Again, socialize, train, teach them appropriate behavior so that that dominance won't get out of hand. But you know, they can be excellent, really fun dogs with lots of personality. And you know, she'll submit to us. She's dominant with her litter mates. She will submit to us. So anyway, let me show her to you. She's kind of sleepy right now, so she's not showing you her spunk. We roll her back. Not seeing anything showing up in the throat right now. On the camera, I don't know if you can tell or not. It might look like White, but all I'm seeing is skin. But I do think she had a white marking as a puppy. Well, she is a puppy at birth. So again, consult that earlier movie. And there is a definite marking right here. It's not near as bold as, say, Orange's, but there is for sure a marking coming down her chest right there. So I feel confident in saying at this point that that will stay. Usually something that's showing up with the thin fur is gonna stay. There's sometimes that if something was showing up at birth and it's not showing up now, sometimes it comes back, sometimes it stays gone. But if they show up at this point, they pretty much are gonna be there. She has solid front paws, and she has very marked back right paw, those 2 toes, and a little bit of frosting right here on back left paw. And she's a limp noodle. I promise she's alive. She really is alive. But she is a sleepyhead. They've played so hard they've worn themselves out. At this age, puppies are very much like an infant. They play, and when they play hard, but they don't make it for very long before they've just exhausted themselves. And then they crash. Sometimes to the point you can't wake them up if you try. So they mostly play and eat and, of course, eliminate and sleep. So anyway, that's what you can kind of expect at this age, is play hard and then crash hard. And so it's Monday today. On Thursday, I have an appointment that these pups will be getting taken in and checked at the vet. They'll get their 6-week vaccinations. That's the first set of 3 shots. So we do the 6-week ones, and then the next 2 you will take care of once the puppy's in your home, and those are usually around 9 weeks and 12 weeks. They don't have to be exact to the date, but you know, somewhere they like them 3 to 4 weeks apart, the vaccinations. So we will take care of that 6-week set, and their microchips will be implanted at that same time. So we will have those all taken care of for you, and then, like I say, you'll finish up that process. So yeah, these are our puppies. They're growing, they're doing good, they're becoming very active, you know, starting to develop those big dog skills. We're starting to hear barking, and you know, they'll sit up like a grown-up dog, like Yellow just did there, and you know, just some of those a little bit more grown-up behaviors are starting to come out. They're much more sure on their feet. They're able to run around without falling over, and you know, much more sure on their feet, and just growing and developing in general. So we're really happy with what we're seeing. And yeah, if you have any questions about a specific puppy, don't hesitate to let us know. And you know, we'll do whatever we can to help you in the selection process and picking the puppy that will be the best one for your family and your home and just be the best match for you. Waking them all up, Purple. Do you think it's playtime? Or are you looking for a pillow?